Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today we got a new world record. Actually, it was Saturday night in England at the UK Championships. Anna Morris in the 4K individual pursuit. And why is it 4K? Well, it's because the distances have changed since January 1st, 2025, and the women no longer do a 3K individual pursuit. They do a 4K. So as the press release says from the UCI, they're talking about these rule changes, and it's all age categories from the youngest kids right up to the elite women, and basically they're trying to get equality with the distances and standardization there. So starting January 1st, there have been these changes, and the world record progressions are pretty incredible in just these first 6-7 weeks of the year. So the first race was on January 4th. Marion Boris of France, in France, was the first to set the new world record, because all the records previously were for 3,000 meters for 3K, and she did a time of 4:42.73. All right, and it didn't take long, because just a couple of weeks later, Hélène Hesters of Belgium went out and broke that record just by a little bit, but then things started to really get crazy. Briony Botha of New Zealand dropped that record another 11 seconds to 4:31, and then again to 4:30 the same day, probably in the Oceania Championships prelim round and the final round. And then Anna Morris has now done it 3 times, twice on February 15th as part of the European Championships, and then Saturday evening, like we said, in Manchester for the British Championships. And the record is now down to 4:24. So just in these, from the 4th of January to the 22nd of February, in these 6 weeks, the initial record, 4:42, and now it's down to 4:24. 18 seconds, 18.7 seconds faster. And I think you really have to look at that in some historical perspective. 4:24 for a 4,000 meter. And, you know, there were people, oh, women, you know, shouldn't race the 4K. It might be too hard. This is incredible stuff. If you go back and you look here, 4:24 is what she raced yesterday, Saturday night. Yeah, last night. 4:24 is what Chris Boardman did in 1992. I think that was open air. I think it was the Olympics in Barcelona. 4:24. And that was what they called the amateur era. In the open era, which started in 1993, 4:23 was the first record in that. Philippe Menot in Bordeaux, July 1993. So think about that for a second. The men were riding 4:24, 4:23 in the 90s. And the women in the first 6 weeks have already caught up to that record. And, you know, as the article says, you know, Anna Morris says, it's going to keep coming down. And that's pretty impressive stuff. I mean, 4:24 is 106 per kilometer. And if you look at this progression, if they can go another 5 or 6 seconds faster, look at the men's progression here, then you're going to have them down into the 4:18, 4:19. And then you're going to be in that like 1996 range, where Andrea Collini, Graham Aubrey was doing 4:20 back then. So you're talking, these are guys, this isn't like talking about the 50s and they've caught up to the 1950s. They've caught up to the 1990s, the mid-90s. And this is just the first 6 weeks. So as they adapt to the new distance, I think you are going to see this go down. And it may be another 5 or 6 seconds in the next few months as they race this. So it'll be really interesting to keep an eye on this. But for right now, what we can say is we can look at the progression here from 4:42 to 4:24, women's 4,000 meter individual pursuit. The UK Championships, or the British Championships, just last night in Manchester. Anna Morris smashing the new record that she had set just days before, a week before, and dropping the record now a full 18 seconds in 6 weeks. So look for more on that. It's pretty fascinating stuff. So that's it for right now. We'll see you again next time. Bye.